a lot of things where I'm like, I kind of lost hope and I got myself in a bad situation. Like, or something out of my control. Like, what is going to happen? And then God shows up the next day, and it's
Yeah.
it is, yeah. Or someone comes in your life, that you weren't expecting, and there's someone that God wants you to minister to, or just, you never know. You're right. You don't know. It is kind of crazy. Like,
it's exciting. People will be like, Christianity is boring and lame. I'm like, I don't know. I think you're missing something.
Not my experience anyway.
No. Hello, this is Andrea from OurDayDream back again with another awesome podcast. This week we have Jennifer Benson. She is the lead singer of the band Ignescent. We talk about domestic violence, but also dreams coming true. So without further ado, here is Jennifer. Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good.
There you are.
Good.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. Dealing with a little antibiotic issues, but I'm kicking.
Oh, really? Oh, are you sick?
I have like an infection in my wisdom tooth. I need to get it taken care of. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that stinks.
So, what is your testimony? What brought you Ignescent?
Well, I mean, I grew up Catholic, and I became a Christian when I was 15 years old. Someone had brought me to a group called Campus Life and to a church and all that. And so, they shared the gospel with me. And so I accepted Jesus at that time. And so I didn't really have much of a crazy life or anything up to that point. It was pretty normal and all that. But I got married pretty young when I was like 18 and, made some, things that were out of my control, but looking back, made some poor choices in life.
I feel like 17 is like the worst age because it's like you like think that you know it all and you make like the worst decisions.
Right. Yeah, you do. It's like at that age, you think you just want to be independent and you think you know everything and you don't realize like what's going to happen or the choices you make are going to bring, consequences down the road. You just, you don't think that way at that age.
No.
So, I wish, looking back, I wish I did. We all have to learn. But, I got married to someone who was, he was in the church and he played drums in the church and on the worship team and everything. And said he was a believer, but looking back, just wasn't really following God. And he had joined the army, so we were off at different areas. I was in Germany for a little bit, for like 3 years, lived there on post as his wife, and then in Georgia for a year. And he just, I don't know, just was not living his life for God. So it ended up that he was just mentally abusive to me and just cheated on me. And I had, we had a little girl together. So when she was 6 months, it was like a day after Christmas, he had left, and I had to move back in with my parents and just was kind of on my own and just heartbroken and lost. And at first I thought it was my fault. I didn't know what was going on. And I was just in that state of mind, like everything's my fault and it must be me, that sort of thing. And interesting enough, and God has only done this maybe twice in my life, but he put like a thought in my head. It was him speaking, and I knew it wasn't me. It was his voice, and he said, "Jennifer, go to your house." At that point, my ex-husband was a police officer, and he had lied and said I did all these things and got a restraining order on me, so I couldn't go back to the house that I helped by with my job. And so, but God said, go back to that house when he's not there, which is kind of risky because I wasn't supposed to even be there. But so I did, and I saw like women's products everywhere and women's clothes. And that's when the light bulb went off that I realized he cheated on me and what had happened and what was the truth. So it was, I mean, it was heartbreaking, but it was also awesome how God revealed that, because there was no one who would have told me that. And so that's why he said that to me, you know, in a thought that wasn't my own. And I knew it was God because I knew it wasn't my own thought. And that was the first time that I've ever experienced anything like that with God. And so that was a big life-changing moment, and pretty empowering after that. So
I feel like whenever somebody cheats, oftentimes they do try to attack you. So it makes it a valid excuse as to why it is that, you know, they can, you know, it's like, so the demons don't hit them as hard. They'll just like make you out to be the bad guy so that they can continue. Yeah. It's sad.
It is, because then you start thinking everything's my fault. I'm a horrible person, and your thoughts get all twisted. And
So
it is.
God showed you that.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing that God did that. And so thankfully I met another guy who's a great person, a really strong Christian, and got remarried, and he's been a great dad to my daughter, and just you know, a great experience. So thankfully through that, God redeemed that. But I've been through many custody battles though in the meantime, and so that was hard too. And then just a lot of like lies being spread about me again, and even when I like went through the last custody battle, God had told me not to hire a lawyer, and I thought I was going crazy. And so I didn't listen to him because I didn't know if that was him or just me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I hired a lawyer, but it was crazy the whole way and how it worked out, because my lawyer ended up being against me, and the GAL, which is the guardian ad litem, the child attorney, was against me, and she said that she wanted to have my daughter Cassidy live with my ex-husband, even though there was no reason and it didn't make any sense. So I ended up firing my lawyer and went back to court and just fired him in court. And we prayed with my friend and my husband that night and went back, and the judge went through all these points, like 17 points. And he said, this case has really been laid on my heart. And I even had like Facebook people pray, and people I haven't talked to in years. But it was interesting that the judge said that this case really laid heavy on his heart, and against a lawyer, against my ex-husband who had a lawyer, and I had no lawyer. I had won that case that day. So it was just a sheer miracle. And even usually the judge, goes with the recommendation of the GAL, the child attorney. So we thought it was kind of over at that point, but it wasn't. So I did win without a lawyer, and God just redeemed that situation. Wow. So it's a lot of miracles.
Right. I think about like the time period where I was going through that. I had my kids stolen from me for like 4 months, and he did the same thing. Yeah, he went to court and he said that I was doing drugs, which I wasn't. And I had never been away from my kids before, and he went and picked them up from school. And back then you could get a temporary custody. So that's what he did. And instead of the courts like being like, oh, well, like, let's drug test her and see, they didn't do that. They just, yeah. So it was like, now I needed to find an attorney, and then they want these huge deposits. I was a stay-at-home mom, and so I didn't even have a job, didn't have a car, didn't have none of that. And it's like and then fighting for your kids and all that. It's like, it feels so excruciating in the moment going through it, but
Mhm.
like, aren't you so glad that you made it through it? And like it seemed like it was taking forever, but it's like, if there's anything that you could tell somebody that's going through that, it's like it will pass. It's not forever, even though it feels like it.
Yeah, definitely. It does feel like forever. I went through like 3 of them, and so yeah, I'm sorry that you went through that too. That's really hard, and so you understand
Oh
how
yeah.
it feels. But yeah, it's in the moment, it's heartbreaking. Like your heart hurts, and you're trying to
Yeah.
trust God, and sometimes people say things, they're like, oh, it'll be fine, but it's like,
Yeah.
well, hopefully, I mean, you're in that moment, you don't know what's going to happen. It's hard, and you just feel that heartbreak, but you're trying to trust God, but you don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's a struggle. It's definitely a struggle, but definitely I'm glad that I hung on and that God did amazing things, and it definitely grew my faith. And I'm going
Right.
through something new that is a big struggle, so I'm just trying to hang on again, but it seems to keep it goes in waves. But yeah, God always comes through. I don't know, sometimes it's in his timing. It takes a while, but he will come through.
Right. I don't know. I get so mad at God sometimes, and
Yeah. I do too.
you get so mad at God, and he's like right there, like blessing you, trying to say like, "Hey, I'm still here. Just calm down a minute. Let me do, let me do my thing. I'm trying to do something. Stop messing it all up."
Right. Very true.
But I think a lot of your songs kind of, I think it is whenever you go through trauma, like, you and I have, and, especially getting mentally abused, and, even getting physically abused by somebody that, proclaimed that they loved you. And so I was just talking about the other day, it was like this super strength that it gives us women, especially when we're dealing with a man, because we're like, so, we're tiny compared to them, and it's intimidating. But when you have somebody you love coming at you like that, it's like, I don't know if anybody on the street that's a stranger could really intimidate me, because, it's like, at
Yeah.
least they didn't say that they love me, and then they're doing that, it can't be any worse than that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but also it's like the, the devil plays with that hardcore, like in your mind. And it and
Mhm.
it and I've been really dealing with like a lot of that, especially in the past year, of
Uh-huh.
really recognizing the fact that I'm still beaten and broken, even though I'm born again, because I
Mhm.
haven't really attended to those times in my life that were really like painful. And so, God's kind of like walking me through this healing in those areas, because I'm starting to realize, like, even if I have everything good happening around me,
Uh-huh.
like, I'm feeling like something's wrong, or like I'm wrong, or like something I'm doing's wrong. Like,
Mhm.
can you relate to that? Or
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like, oh, for me, I still have, unless I'm really busy and distracted or something, I still have like an ache in my heart. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's just like a pain or an ache from what has gone through, I've been through, and those thoughts come racing back, especially if someone says something like attacking, or something triggers it. Yeah, so I don't know if that's kind of what you mean, but I feel like I can relate with what you're saying, because yeah, it's hard. It's like God has to heal that, and I don't know. It takes a long time, or it's not something that just goes away, I guess.
right. A prophet had like told me, she's like, I see you as like sitting on a rock by the waterfall in this peaceful garden, and God's spirit or the sun shining down on you, and you're just so full of peace. And I like
Uh,
laughed out loud, and I was like, I feel more like Nebuchadnezzar, like being from the kingdom, turning into a monster, crawling around, going,
yeah, I can relate.
I was like, I do not feel like this girl. So God was like, I need you to start like taking these broken times in your life, which started whenever I was extremely young, and just like start taking these moments. Like if they pop up in your head, take that person into the garden and console them like they needed to be consoled in that moment. And it's really been changing my life like incredibly. So, I mean, I still feel like Nebuchadnezzar, but
That's pretty cool. I like that visual, and yeah, that's really cool. I'll have to think
kind of
about
like
that.
Garden of Eden. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool.
it's really peaceful. But I don't know. Like I read a quote that you had wrote, I think, or it might be a lyric, and you had wrote it on your post, but it says, um, the night is as bright as the day. And so like, where did that come from?
That's actually a Bible verse that I took
Yeah.
from the Bible, and yeah, and so it was just coming from a place of, when we're going through darkness and going through hard times, that God is still there with us and He can shine a light through us. And so that's kind of why I posted that. And as well as what we do, like a lot of times we're in bars and we're in non-Christian settings. And so, I want to be a light for Jesus, and, in those dark places. And so that's kind of why I posted that.
I love that. I think about too, like, and I'm sure you can identify with it too. It's like I would rather not have went through the things that I did, but it did make like this crazy personality that I kind of rather enjoy.
I love that.
It's
That
like,
is true.
yeah, it's like you have like this spunk, but then you also have this compassion because you'll see people like out like in society that will make their own hell out of something so small. And it's like, you know what hell looks like, so you're like not trying to do that to yourself, like over something, and I don't know, it's definitely a superpower, and you see it like time and time again, like all through the Bible, like they all go through these crazy trials that kind of refine them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. And before I was a Christian, I was like I was super shy, and I couldn't even look people in the eyes. And so then, like you're saying, like after I became a Christian, and after going through, all these trials, it's like, I mean, that's the whole thing, that I couldn't look at people in the eyes, but I can go out and I can get on stage and I can talk to people,
Right.
and, just try to love them, but without going through those things, I don't think I could have done that. I would have been shy. So,
Right, it does. It brings out this like, what worse can happen? I mean, really, I feel like there's really nothing much worse than that could really, besides something, happening to our children. But besides
yeah,
that, I mean, I think that's the most heartbreaking thing that you have to go through with it. It's like 'cause you can't control how your children are being raised, because
yeah,
there's so much chaos. I think that's
yeah.
what broke me the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Because it's like they go over to the other spouse's place, and there's other influences, and they don't have the same beliefs. And yeah, it's scary to, know like what's going on over there, and how are they being influenced, and trying to trust God in all
Mhm.
that, and the things that you don't agree with them being subjected to, I guess. Yeah, it is hard. That
It
I
is.
agree. The
Yeah.
children, yeah, affected the most. And
I know like my older kids that I dealt with, like, the ones like I have two kids to the first dad, and I have two baby dads, but and then I have three children, but my first two kids, like, I don't know, they just grew up so incredible. And, like my daughter gave me a card the one time. She's like, it takes a strong mom to raise strong kids. And but they're like, I don't know, it's like the trauma that I went through, I think it kind of like taught them like that's not what I want, thankfully. Sometimes you get the opposite effect, but I was kind of blessed in that sense, but it gives them that superpower too, to just know like everything's not roses all the time, there's trials.
Yeah, that is true.
So, but you started the band after the split, and so you were a single mom, and I think that's so encouraging. How did you maneuver that with like, starting the band? Like, were you able to stay local? Is that how you did that, or your family kind of helped and stepped up with that?
Actually, it was after I got remarried that I did that.
Oh,
But yeah, and that was part of what I went through with my ex-husband. He didn't want me to pursue music. Like I felt like I wanted to do this my whole life, but he wasn't wanting me to do that. So yeah, so then after that, I decided to finally, start a band. And my current husband was a amazing support. He's been to almost every show. He helps, at the merch table. He takes pictures. He does videos, and an amazing support system, as well as my mom and dad would help watch my daughter. Some shows she could come with, but some she
yeah.
couldn't. So it was kind of maneuvering it that way. Or if she was with her dad, then at that point I would, maybe book shows on those weekends when she was gone, and do more local shows. Though I did some that were out of state, and she came with too. So yeah, that at first that's how I started it, because I had so much going on with her, and it was hard, but it was just a blessing to be able to finally do what I felt like I wanted to do and what I was called to do. So.
You think it was that purpose though too that kind of like heals you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. And just sharing my story, online and on stage, and encouraging other people and other women, that definitely was extremely healing. And
I'm
yeah,
thankful for that. I'm thankful that you're doing that. It's such a beautiful thing.
thank you. Thank you.
That's
Appreciate it.
awesome.
Thank you.
So your song Resist, I feel like that's like somebody that's been through trauma. It's like that, like Satan is like nonstop with that stuff, relentless. But anyway, let me hear what you have to say about Resist.
It's definitely about resisting the devil and constant attacks that I go through, and me and my husband go through. What we do, it is constant and a little exhausting sometimes. But it's just saying that I will always follow God, and I will resist Satan, and no matter what I go through, I will always choose Jesus over following Satan. And so it's just kind of a song of empowerment to other people, to encourage them to. And actually, it was produced with Jeremy Valentine and Brandon Wolf of the band New Year's Day, which is really cool. They're Christians. They're really great guys. And so I got to work with them and co-write with them on that song. So, but yeah, it's just a song of, I won't back down. So.
Right, and it does. It feels like a battle. And sometimes I'll be like, he won.
Yeah.
He won this one. So I'm seeing somebody now too, and I'll be like, don't say that. I'm like, no, he won. And then I go reevaluate myself, but yeah. It makes life, I guess, exciting. And because I did spend, and I always say this in the podcast, I did spend 17 years as an atheist. And it's almost like you're like living Groundhog's Day, like every day's the same day over.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. And so, and then being a believer in God, it's like you just don't know what's going to happen that day. Like you don't know what kind of test you're going to be fighting, or what battle you're going to be fighting that day, or or what, miraculous thing's going to happen that day that's going to, be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. It's like, you just don't know what's going to happen day by day.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. I know I've gone through a lot of things where I'm like, I kind of lost hope and I got myself in a bad situation. Like, you know, or something out of my control. Like, what is going to happen? And then God shows up the next day, and it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Or someone comes in your life, you know, that you weren't expecting, and or someone that God wants you to minister to, or just, yeah, you never know. You're right. You don't know. It is kind of crazy. Like,
Yeah. It's exciting. People will
yeah,
be like, you know, Christianity is boring and lame. I'm like, I don't know. I think you're missing something.
not my experience anyway.
No. No. I was telling Nathan about it the one day. I'm like, you know, every morning we gotta wake up and we gotta be ready for a fight. I was like, but you can't show up to the fight with a Nerf gun whenever you have a gun aimed at your face. Like, you gotta really put on some armor and like get some good gear, like
Yeah.
pray up, because like you just don't know what's gonna happen that day. But it's
Yeah.
exciting, you know. Yeah.
It is. It definitely is. It keeps life very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So Demon 777, you got Grammy nomination for. How'd that feel?
Yeah, that song, it was just crazy what happened with it. And that song's actually produced with Cameron Pierce Mazel, and he's worked with Memphis Mayfire and Sleeping with Sirens. It's cool to work with him, and he's really, yeah, really great guy and super talented. And so yeah, it was just really cool to see how people reacted to that song. And that's just a really special song to me. It's the last song we usually play in our set at a live show, and I usually, you know, share what I've been through and just encourage people that we're in this, you know, together, and you're not alone, and, you know, don't let go. God's there for you. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the day that you started the band, you weren't expecting that you would be, you know, where you are now.
yeah, no, definitely not. It just, I didn't know what I was doing. I was completely clueless, and I just thought, well, I'm just gonna start this thing and see where it goes. But at the same time, like, I've been wanting to do this since I was a teenager, and you know, I felt called to do it, and it's been a dream of mine. And so I had hopes that it would, you know, God would bless it and all that. But yeah, I had no idea. And like last year, the song Remnant hit top 50, I think it was, on active rock Billboard charts, you know, with bands like Evanescence. And then it also hit number 6 on Christian rock Billboard charts, you know, with bands like Skillet and all that. And so it was really, yeah, it's really cool to see how God has blessed the band and bless the music, and also to see what he's done at different shows. Like, we've played at Rock Fest, which is not a Christian fest. And we played at Life Fest and Christian Fest and all that too. But I've gotten to share, you know, the gospel at Rock Fest and talk about Jesus and God and pray with people at a show like Rock Fest, which is, you know, like Megadeth or Rob Zombie play there and all that. So just an awesome opportunity, not alone, you know, let alone to play there, play music, but also to talk to people and encourage them and love them. And that's my heart. So it's just, yeah, it's crazy to see what God has done. And yeah, just, I'm really thankful and I'm really blessed.
I always think it's so cool whenever you have Christian rock bands that are doing secular venues, because like they just don't know what's coming to them. Like they're there to listen to regular music, and then they're just like, what is that, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting, like, to see reactions, like, you know, that people do, you know, they'll come up to us and or me and ask for prayer, and, you know, and they appreciate it, you know, they appreciate hearing about God's love. And and all that. So you don't know how people are going to react, but you know, they need to hear that. And I think they crave that. They need to hear about God's love and the truth that God loves them. And, you know, and who, I mean, you know, who's not a lot of people are gonna do that. You know, a lot of people are in the church, which is great, but you know, we need to be out there like Jesus was, and we need to be bold and, you know, and just love them and love people unconditionally, and you know, and that's all we can really do. So
Absolutely. I know whenever I would work at the rehab, like you would never hear the clients speak about God or Jesus, but as soon as like they would say like Jesus Christ, and I'd be like, my Lord and Savior. Like
that's
the next
awesome.
thing you know, it would open up this door to like they were excited because a lot of people that they didn't feel comfortable, I guess, talk about those types of things too. And even just
Yeah.
the curiosity behind it or not really understanding it fully and things like that. And so, you know, you open up that door and you just don't know, like somebody that doesn't believe is even a little bit curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. We just need to, you know, plant that seed and see where
Mhm.
God takes it. And yeah, I've had people at the last show, guys like I've been wanting to know more about God and I don't understand, you know, and so it opens up those conversations of the truth about God. So but
Right.
that's really cool that you have that opportunity there too. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really beautiful thing
Yeah.
because, you know, but I mean, I would have to get kind of sassy sometimes, and I didn't really want to. I wanted to be like the sweet and
Yeah.
Christian, but I couldn't do that all the time because, you know, when you're dealing with people that's been in and out of the judicial system, you can't
Yeah.
you can't back down whenever they come at you. Like you have to stand
Right.
tall. So, but it was beautiful, like the amount of people that not only need God, you know, especially being an atheist, like it's just such a, I mean, we're all going to deal with trials. Like you've dealt with
Right.
the trials as a believer. I dealt with trials as an unbeliever, but
Yeah.
and I still go through trials even after, you know, finding God again relentlessly. But it's
Yeah.
like, it's so much easier to walk through these trials knowing that you have somebody like that actually holds the planets in alignment that's with you. Like, you know, I can't do that. So it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I can't imagine not having that support system or not having God. I don't know how I would get through it. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
I hope in that.
Yeah, there isn't. It's just hopeless. Yeah.
It's almost like you're dead, like
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
Interesting. That is
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always tell people, I'm like, you know, the atheists, God's still like grabbing and pulling at them, just same as they're grabbing and pulling at you. It's just they're having a harder walk. Like it's just
Yeah.
a harder walk for them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So,
said you became okay, atheist till 17. Wow. Okay.
yeah. I had somebody come to me and they were like, if God created everything, who created God? And I was analytical, you know, and
Yeah.
when you're in Sunday school, they portray God as kind of a man, or either that, or I just kind of come up with that in my own way.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay, so like all of a sudden a man just came here to be and then made all this. And I was like, that makes no sense to me. So it's like
Uh-huh.
now my son Jackson, he'll be like, God's a man. And I'm like, I don't really want you to think that because that's too complicated to understand. Like, I don't want him to end up like me to where he analyzes it the wrong way. I'm like, God's
Mhm.
a spirit. Like,
Mhm.
God's not in one space at one time. Like, God is a spirit. It's different.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I went to a lot of different Christians and different people, and I'm like, okay, well, if God created everything, who created God? Because I wasn't trying to give up that easily.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to hear a real answer, and everybody was like, he just was. And I'm like, what? I just I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I was like, there's no way, like, that's not even possible.
Yeah.
But when the Spirit of God touches you, when the Spirit of God touches you, and you don't know the Spirit of God, and he touches you, like, there's no denying him ever again for the rest of your life. Like, you just can't run away again.
That is true. I agree with that. You can try, but it won't happen.
No, yeah, you can try. I couldn't even do it as an atheist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, here I am. So he wanted me, he got me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Remnant is, what's it about?
Well, I actually wrote that during COVID, when all that was happening, and there was just so many bands like falling apart, and just everything, people quitting and just giving up. I mean, obviously that was a really hard time in everyone's life, and just crazy and just not expected. But I just wanted to say that no matter what we're going through, that we're gonna keep going, because a remnant is a small fragment, fragment of something that basically that we're just not going to give up, and we are the remnant. We're going to stick around, and no matter how tough times get, no matter what we're going through, even during a pandemic, we're not going to give up. We're still going to share God's love, and not give up as a band. And so that's that's part of what it was about, and just that we want to stay out there and show people God's love, and in a crazy time. So
yeah, it was super crazy times during that time period. It seemed like a lot of bands were starting up though, like right around that time period too. When did your band start?
It was before that. It was before that. But then and then I've heard of a ton during that time. Just, I mean, financially too. Obviously, it hurt bands, and it hurt clubs, and it hurt the music industry, everything. So it's understandable. But a lot of bands I've heard, just kind of gave up and quit and ended, and during that time because of all that. But yeah, I just wanted to show that just be an inspiration, that even though it's super hard, we're gonna keep going and persevere during this time. So
Right. And I don't know, I feel like there has been a lot of good changes since then. We got Thanksgiving back. The superstores no longer have our family day.
True.
Black Friday's on Friday now, like where it should have been all along.
Yeah, that is true. There has been some changes, which are good.
Yeah. And I don't know, I feel like the word in church is different. I feel like people are more so about unity. They're starting to realize that their religious ways aren't really working for them anymore. And so you're seeing like bolder messages, I think, come out into the church, like as in, we got to be more involved with the community, or we need to be more involved with other churches and coming together in unity and things like that. The more they used to be like, we need to fill up our church.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that too. And people, I think, have become bolder for Christ too after that experience, which is awesome to see. But so I agree. I think people are more family focused now too, at least some people, because of that, all that happened. So
right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. What's happening next?
Next, we have an announcement, but that I can't say anything yet. So just be looking on social. Yeah, stay tuned. We do have, let's see, we'll be playing at a fest in South Carolina, so I'm excited about that. We'll be playing on the main stage at Lakes Jam in Raynor, Minnesota, the same stage as Skillet is headlining, so I'm super excited because I love Skillet.
That's
So
so cool.
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have some songs that we've been recording that we don't know the release date yet, but we'll be releasing that hopefully this summer. Um, and we are going to be in Mexico at a fest, Exito Fest. We'll be playing there April 7th. So just
Nice.
pray for us while we're in Mexico. And
Nice.
yeah, that's kind of what's
Beautiful.
next.
How do we get a hold of you? If somebody wants to book you, or how do we find you?
The best way would, just email us at ignescentmusic@gmail.com, or else go on ignescentmusic.com, the website, and that'll have like the information and booking agent and all of that. You can just follow us on socials at Ignescent Music on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We have. You can also check us out, like Resist by Ignescent on Spotify. Remnant is on Spotify, and just listen to us there. And then, contact us or message us on social media as well.
I'll be posting out links then too. I appreciate you for joining me. I thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
God bless your mission. I pray that, you reach every young woman out there, that she finds you before she ever finds herself in that home that she can't get out of.
Yes, let's definitely pray for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a good night. I'll be reaching out to you soon.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this message, please hit subscribe, because we have an awesome guest coming up every week and I don't want you to miss out. Don't forget, there's OurDayDream merch now. Link is in the description if you want to check it out. Please hit like if you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next week. God bless.